Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 6th Annual Copenhagen Democracy Summit. It is a pleasure to welcome so many dedicated people fighting for freedom. 2022 was a difficult year for democracy. We saw the return of full-scale war in Europe. In Asia, China staged up its provocations against Taiwan. Across the world, authoritarian regimes cracked down on protest. For the 17th consecutive year, the global state of democracy declined. Against this grim backdrop, it's easy to become disheartened, to become depressed, to become dispirited, to believe that democratic decline is inevitable, that the advance of autocrats is unavoidable, that the suppression of personal liberty is inescapable. But let us send a loud and clear message from this summit. Freedom will prevail, because freedom is the strongest force of mankind. Despite the atrocities of the autocrats, the despotism of dictators, the totalitarianism of the tyrants, we still see hope. We see hope in the heroism of the Ukrainian people fighting for their country's future. We see hope in the brave women of Iran and Afghanistan protesting for their rights. We see it in all those around the world risking their liberty for the cause of democracy. Over the next 2 days, we will discuss and debate what we can do to strengthen the democratic world. This morning, we focus on Ukraine, because what happens in Ukraine matters for the whole democratic world. If Russia can gain territory and establish a new status quo by force, it sets a dangerous precedent. Xi Jinping will conclude that he can just take Taiwan, that the democratic world will do nothing. Because the lesson we learn from history is that appeasement with dictators does not lead to peace. It leads to war and conflict. Only a clear demonstration of determination deters despots. That is why we must ensure that Ukraine wins the war and secures a sustainable peace. And now, this is how we make it a reality. First, we must ensure timely, sustained, and open-ended military support to Ukraine and a guarantee of security until Ukraine joins NATO. So far, we have given Ukraine what it needs to persevere. Now, we must give them what they need to win. And do so for as long as it takes to kick all Russian invaders from Ukrainian soil. We must ensure a Ukrainian victory to ensure a world governed by the rule of law, not the rule of the ruthless. Second, there must be full restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity. That includes Crimea. As long as Crimea is under Russian control, Russia will pose an imminent threat to Ukraine. Third, sanctions on Russia must only be lifted in agreement with Ukraine, and only when every single Russian troop has left Ukrainian soil. Fourth, there must be mechanisms for reparation and accountability for war crimes. There will be no lasting peace until criminals are brought to justice and victims are compensated. Fifth, Ukraine must be rebuilt. There must be a clear plan for Ukraine's reconstruction, built on strong support from the international community, but also financed by frozen Russian assets. Sixth, we must strengthen Ukraine's democratic foundations. A new Ukraine will emerge from the war. We must help with reforms to eradicate corruption and strengthen the rule of law, so Ukrainians can prosper and democracy can thrive. Lastly, we need to embed Ukraine in the wider democratic world. No ifs, no buts. Ukraine must join NATO and the European Union. Membership of both organizations will strengthen Ukraine, but it will also strengthen both organizations. Ukraine must be given a clear and realistic pathway to NATO membership at the upcoming summit in Vilnius. There can be no more gray zones, no more talk of neutrality, no more role for Putin as NATO's doorman. Peace and stability in Europe relies on a strong and stable Ukraine as a bulwark against an aggressive Russia. So, until Ukraine is covered by NATO's Article 5, it will need robust security guarantees from its allies. We must ensure that Ukraine can defend itself by itself, to ensure that Russia can never invade again. So today I have outlined a 7-point plan, one that spells out how Ukraine can win both the war and the peace. If Ukraine's allies deliver on these 7 points, then a prosperous and vibrant Ukraine can emerge from the ashes of the conflict. It can build back stronger than before. It can become a lighthouse for the democratic world, showing the way to others trapped in the rising tide of tyranny. We are all longing for peace, but we cannot give up freedom to gain peace. Peace is precious, but freedom is priceless. And this is the clear message from the Copenhagen Democracy Summit 2023. We want peace, but we are prepared to fight for freedom and democracy. Thank you and enjoy the summit.